Chapter 12, Bigfoot Souvenirs and More. Mr. Miller's son Jay shows us 4 pictures that are blurry at best, grainy at least, and just plain dark and fuzzy. Tobin tells him that anything is better than nothing, but after seeing these pictures, I think this anything is a real close second to nothing. I guess whatever's in the picture could be something if you squint your eyes real tight and cock your head to the left. And we know for sure it's not a tree stump or anything like that because in each picture it's in a different spot and a different position. But is it a Bigfoot? Tobin makes an executive decision to bring in an expert witness to give the final yay or nay about the images in the grainy shots. So we stop in at Charlie's store that afternoon. The store is set on the edge of Highway 299 and made entirely of logs. Even the roof is made of thick, heavy logs. The store has a dark green wooden door with a bell on it, so that whenever someone opens it, the thing jingles to let Charlie know there's a customer. The bell on the door rings when Tobin and I push it open, which makes Charlie look up at us from behind the counter, where he's sitting on a stool reading a book. Right next to the door is a big bulletin board with the newspaper clippings of Bigfoot sightings, some from California and others from other states. There's even an article about a Bigfoot story someone told President Theodore Roosevelt in the 1800s. Well, there they are, Charlie calls out, setting his book aside and taking off his glasses. Tobin, the Miller's pictures in hand, make a beeline for Charlie while I explore the shop. It's bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside, and there's a humongous stone fireplace right in the middle of the room with fat, lumpy pillows scattered across the floor all around. There's a hand-carved sign over the fireplace that says, "Take a story, leave a story." In the far corner is a gargantuan wooden Bigfoot, a little like the one at the center of town, except the Bigfoot is holding another carved sign, letting customers know they can't get their picture taken with it. They can get their picture taken with it for $1. The shelves are covered in anything and everything, Bigfoot-related posters, greeting cards, t-shirts, coffee, mugs, and even a Bigfoot doormat, which is just one big brown foot. There are other sections too, all clearly labeled with even more carved signs. In the fine cuisine section, there is an aisle labeled exotic jerkies of the world. There is any kind of jerky a person could ever want. If you're a person who eats the stuff, that is, which I'm not. Beef, deer, bear, elk, buffalo, ostrich, and even kangaroo. Disgusting. Next to the jerkies are jars of olives stuffed with things like garlic and nuts and cheese. There are all kinds of fancy crackers with seeds on them and some cookies too. There is a section labeled hunting and fishing, which is where I see a whole basket of safari hats, just like the one Tobin wears, except these are all plain with no letters on them. I pick one up. "Tobin," I call, modeling it for him. "What do you think?" "Nope," he tells me. "I already told you. You're not approved for that level of security clearance. Come on, now we have to show Charlie the pictures." I walk up to the counter and rest my elbows on the glass. There's a spinning tower of Bigfoot chains, a box of maps, and a basket of saltwater taffy, each piece individually wrapped in wax paper, 2 for a nickel. "What do you think?" Charlie asks after I thoroughly examine the place. He picks out a pink piece of taffy for me and hands Tobin a brown one. "It really is Bigfoot Souvenirs and More," I tell him, unwrapping the taffy and putting it in my mouth. "Suppose so," he smiles at me. I turn away. "Charlie," Tobin says, pushing up his glasses, "when did the photomat say the film is going to be developed?" "I said 4 days," Charlie says, "so maybe Thursday." "You kids had your lunch yet?" "Not yet," Tobin tells him, and he juts his chin in my direction. "Now this one had a Twinkie for breakfast." Big fat blabbermouth. "We can call Diesel's Deli and have them make us up some sandwiches. How does that sound?" "Can you look at these first?" Tobin asked Charlie, handing him the envelope of pictures. The bell on the door dings. We all look up to see a family, a mom, a dad, and a little girl about 4 years old. "Welcome," Charlie calls out to them, slowly getting up from his stool. "Welcome to Bigfoot Souvenirs and More. We have everything and anything related to the elusive Bigfoot that you could ever want to take home with you. Please let me know if I can help you find anything." "Thank you," the man says, while the girls run to the section labeled Toys, which is filled with baskets of stuffed Bigfoot and other animals of the forest. "Okay," Charlie settles back down on the stool and pulls his glasses out of his shirt pocket. "Let's see what you got here." While Charlie and Tobin lay the 4 pictures out on the counter, I watch the man and the woman and the girl go through the stuffed toys. They smile and laugh together. I bet somewhere they have a happy house with a happy hallway full of happy family pictures. And I bet one day there will be another one showing their happy trip to Willow Creek. I sigh. We just got back from a call out at Miller Ranch. Tobin is telling Charlie Mr. Miller and his son Jay got these while they were out hunting. We're wondering what you think about them. Tobin lines up the 4 pictures. They're blurry, Tobin tells him, and grainy, I say. Charlie says, leaning over the pictures. We all examine them together. Tobin pulls his magnifying glass from his back pocket to get a closer look. He lets me and Charlie take turns too. Well, Charlie says, stroking his beard, whatever it is, it's definitely big, isn't it? Bipedal too, Tobin says. What's that, I ask. Bipedal means it walks on 2 feet, Tobin explains. Don't bears do that too, I ask? Very good, Lem, Charlie says. You're exactly right. But there are some big differences in determining whether it's a bear or a Bigfoot. Like what? Well, Bigfoot has longer hair and it's scraggly too. It's been mostly reported as reddish-brown, kind of like an orangutan. But sometimes it's reported in other colors, some black, some dark brown. Some even gray, Tobin adds. That's right, Charlie says. And they smell real strong, kind of like a skunk. They're bipedal creatures all the time, just like humans, whereas bears generally walk on all 4s and only sometimes stand up on their hind legs. And Bigfoot has the facial features of a human. Tobin looks at me, his wire rims slipped all the way down to the tip of his nose. Half human, half primate. And opposable thumbs like us. Charlie wiggles his thumbs instead of paws like bears. I look through the magnifying glass again, real close this time, with my nose almost pressed against the picture. Ever think it could be someone in a suit? No, Tobin blurts out. See, there you go again. There she goes again. He waves his arms at Charlie. What? I say confused. What did I say? Always with the complaining. Tobin begins gathering up all the photos in a heap. I'm not complaining, I say, then turn to Charlie. I'm not. I'm just asking a question. Could it be somebody in a suit? How can it be scientific if you don't consider every possibility? Don't you think I would know the difference? Tobin snaps at me. I'm a professional, you know. Read this sign. He points to his stupid hat. I think anyone could be fooled if the conditions were right and it was far enough away. Plus, there's a big difference between seeing something in real life and looking at grainy pictures, I say. But this is all you've got. Geez, why are you getting so upset? She's right, Charlie tells Tobin. We have to ask all kinds of questions and not just assume. And yes, Lem, to answer your question, some have doubted the original film that Roger Pattinson and Bob Gimlin shot out this way, asking the same question. Could it be fake? Could they or someone else have fooled us with a costume of some sort? Do you think they did that? No, Tobin snapped again. It's real. I know it. Charlie knows it too. He's even seen one with his own eyes. Tell her, Charlie. Tell her they're real. I turned to Charlie. For a minute, I wonder if Mama ever saw a Bigfoot. She never talked about it, but I'm finding out a lot of things about Mama here that I never knew about. You've actually seen one? I asked Charlie. Charlie sighs a long breath and puts his glasses in his shirt pocket. That's right. He leans back on the stool, crossing his arms over his chest. When? Well, it was one night about 5 years ago now. I was driving out on this highway here. It was a dark and foggy with just a bit of drizzle coming down, which means all I could see was a few feet in front of the car that my headlights lit up. I was driving real slow, like real slow, and then in a flash of a second, he was there, right there in front of me. Really? I breathed. Yes, really, Tobin said. Let him tell the story, why don't you? Well, the first thing I saw was the eye shine. Charlie goes on, bright red eye shine gleaming in my headlights. And then he was standing there out in the front of the car. That's right, Tobin interrupts again. Nothing hullabaloo about that, is there? I turn back to Charlie. Did you hit him? Charlie swallows and shakes his head slowly. No, thank God. I stomped my boot on the brake pedal fast as I could. He stood there staring at me through the windshield, and I couldn't move. It was like he put a spell on me or something. Charlie stares off into the distance. We just sat a moment looking at each other, and neither of us knew what to do. Then what happened, I asked. Then he was gone, as fast as he came. Charlie puts his chin in his hand and leans an elbow on the counter. At first, I wondered if it could have been something else. Anything else. The fog was so thick, and then Charlie looks right into me, but I know it wasn't. It was a Bigfoot. A real, live Bigfoot. Wow, I whispered. Were you scared? Charlie doesn't say anything for a long time, like he's thinking hard about my question. Funny thing is, I wasn't, he finally tells me. We looked each other square in the eye for that split second, and I knew in that moment he was more scared of me than I was of him. How could that be? I asked. The thing's a beast, a monster. Wrong again, Tobin says, his voice quivering a little. Just because you don't understand them doesn't make them a beast or a monster. I put my hands on my hips and give him a long, hard glare. What is your problem? I demand. Excuse me, the man calls from the back of the store, standing next to the big wooden Bigfoot statue. Can we get a picture with the beast? Tobin just hits his head with his palm and shakes his head.